Good afternoon, Lisa.
Good afternoon, Andrew.
We are back with more Some Mothers Do Have 'Em. As it has been, I guess, reasonably pointed out that, yes, we did do George's House, but that is not necessarily very typical of the series as a whole, is it?
No, I suppose not, no.
So we thought we'd jump ahead to a season 2 one, and it's one of the more memorable ones, I think. Cliffhanger from the 22nd of November 1973. It's a Thursday, and it's one of those real classic sort of Thursday lineups on BBC One.
Yeah.
So 7 o'clock is Tomorrow's World, then Top of the Pops, Mastermind with questions on West Africa, 19th to 20th century crime, the history of Greece and city-states to the death of Alexander, and British birds. Ooh, birds.
Yeah, not that kind of bird.
Then Some Others Do Have 'Em. Is at 8:30.
Yeah.
It says disaster-prone Frank Spencer manages to find himself a job as salesman for farm products, and with the job goes a car. But as Frank can't drive, with the car must go his wife Betty. And when they go for a picnic on the seaside cliff top, ... And I noticed that the first credit is Action by Havoc, which is a bit of a giveaway as the way things go, I think, isn't it? So we made some more notes.
Yes.
And we've even found a BBC News site sort of link to it, which I'll link to when we do the blog post. But let's just go through the notes, shall we?
Yeah.
And see what your thoughts are. So we start off with Frank walking along the road.
Yeah.
And
the pavement, not the road.
Well, the pavement, heading towards the public library.
Yes.
And there are various people on benches, aren't there?
There are.
In the background.
Yes.
And I do wonder whether they just happen to be passing and somebody said to them, would you like to be in Some Others Do Have 'Em?
Yeah.
Because they do look to be quite placed, don't they?
They do a little bit, yes.
There's clumps of them. There's like sort of a group of 4 and a group of 3 or something.
Yeah.
As though they just happen to be there and they were given the opportunity.
Yeah.
But we're in the public library and there's an old man who pinches the bottom of the sort of young girl assistant.
Yes. Yeah.
Isn't there? And the older sort of female assistant comes in and she says about strange men, beware of them. And enter Frank Spencer.
Yeah.
And he does this thing that he'll talk to himself about something, and you don't quite see. You just see his mouth going as though he's sort of thinking about something in his head, isn't he? And he comes in and he says that he's looking for love.
Yeah.
So the girl assistant screams basically. Because, he's got the full, sort of flasher mac and beret arrangement on, hasn't he? So, he does look dodgy. But he's got no... That's the thing, he's got no awareness of this, has he, at all? He's the real total innocent in this situation. But he's looking for some romance books for Betty. But, Betty's a bit sort of put off, isn't she? Because they haven't had a break for a while.
Because their car's at the bottom of the river.
Yeah, she likes to go to the seaside, but they've not been able to, as when he was presumably taking a driving lesson, the driving instructor got out 10 minutes beforehand. He sort of knocked the traffic lights down, went up a one-way street the wrong way. The instructor got out and the car ended up at the bottom of the river.
After being on the cricket field.
Yeah, it was the only way to get it off the cricket field. Yeah, so God knows how it got there. But there seems to be a bit missing here, because then you get the older woman says you want something about chickens or something.
Yeah, it's like a little bit's been snipped out.
Yeah.
So it goes from talking about his car to talking about chickens.
Yeah,
it's
weird.
a bit odd.
He hasn't got his ticket though, has he?
No. Or Betty's ticket.
Or any ticket. I mean, he's got there's the big tray of tickets on the desk, and he says, "Have a look in there." And I have to say, this doesn't appear to be his fault the way it's shot.
No.
Because he's saying, "Have a look in there," and
but she's trying to stop him from taking the tray.
But she just sort of does it over her shoulder, doesn't it? It's
she sort of jerks it and it flips over her shoulder. Yeah.
But yeah, the tickets go flying, and he sort of makes his excuses and leaves.
And runs away.
Then you get the chicken house, and this is one of these bits that's always used in clip shows, because it's a set piece, but it doesn't have really anything much to do with the rest of the plot. There is a slight connection, but he's
feeding the next door neighbour's chickens.
Yeah, and I think they've got about half a dozen chickens. I
noticed 6 chickens. Yeah.
I noticed it was clear. Well, yeah, I mean, I know it's studio, but it was very obviously studio with the blue sky. Did you see how like obvious that was just done with lighting?
Very obviously, yes.
But there's a load of chickens come flying out of like the hole.
One gets chucked out. Yeah. By the looks of it. When it comes out, it's not.
It's not happy. It's sort of flapping, isn't it? And then eventually, sort of his head comes out of the skylight, and the whole thing collapses around him. So, as you said, it's one of those things that you could probably only do once.
Yeah.
And to reset it would take an awful lot of effort.
Yeah.
Now, I did notice he seemed to be slightly sunburnt in this.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
I don't know that he got sunburnt during the filming on this one because, as you say, it does look a bit cold when we get to the film sequences. But yeah, he's had to round up all the chickens, hasn't he, to get them back, and he seems to have ended up with 7, not 6.
Yes.
Now Betty wants a break, but the chief frogman doesn't with much hope
for the car.
Yeah. But he's got a surprise for Betty, hasn't he? He's going for an interview with a job that's to do with like farming and agriculture, and if he gets the job, he'll get a car with it. Meanwhile, you've had a shot of the chicken house that he's put back together, supposedly, but it's all like sort of a mess, isn't it?
It's all wonky
and then the whole thing collapses again. He blames it on the chickens for
shifting.
And the
chickens all come out.
Yeah, because they've shifted.
Yeah. No chickens were harmed in the making of this programme.
But yeah, he goes to the offices of this sort of, I guess it's sort of agricultural supplies, isn't it? Because they supply sort of animal foodstuffs and fertiliser and stuff. And the bloke that's in charge is away, isn't he?
Yes. So
you've got his assistant, who is Vernon Dubchef, who's the scientist from Doctor Who, the War Games, isn't he? So it's nice to see him. Frank he goes to sit down, he gets a mousetrap up his arse, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, it's on the bottom of his coat.
Yeah, it's sort of hanging on. And sort of Vernon Dubchef goes round to try and get it off of him.
And he keeps flipping away from him.
Because he says he's a married man and he's heard about this sort of stuff. He'd sent a huge letter, and in amongst this huge letter, he finds Vernon Dubchef finds the birthday card.
He was supposed to send to Betty's mother.
Yeah, which never got there.
Yeah.
So they have a discussion about sort of hens and cockerels and how many hens you could have per cockerel.
Yeah.
Frank says you should have 1 to 1 because they and it's something about the wind, isn't it? The north wind.
Got to face the northeast wind
with their legs apart. That's news to me, isn't it? But yes, his family has got some sort of farming background because his mother once went out with a shepherd.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he does get the job. I do wonder how desperate they are. But,
yes.
And he gets sort of access to the car. And if he has to replace the car, it's £850.
Yes.
But as Vernon Dubchef sort of hands him the keys and goes off, his briefcase falls open and you can see the L plates.
L plates, yeah. You have to quickly cover them up.
Yeah. The car registration is 90YNY, by the way. I always like to note that sort of thing down. But they go for a picnic on the cliff, don't they? And there's a couple of other people there, so it's not like they've gone to some really out of the way
But at the start it looks quite... Well, it's weird because it looks quite cloudy and it's a bit windy.
Yeah.
And then there's supposed to be a thunderstorm, but it's still sunny.
Yeah, well, they overlay the rain on it, don't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, Betty says she wants a baby. And she says it quite loudly, and sort of people look round. Then on comes the rain, which is, as we said, it's clearly put on.
Well, they do get wet. So
they are wet. Well, they've just sort of chucked some water in their faces. I think that's all it is. And then a dog turns up from somewhere. It's never really explained where the dog comes from, no. Or indeed what happens to the dog at the end.
Doesn't he get a dog later on, though?
He does. He does get a dog, and
gets a dog called Columbo, doesn't he?
I will do look. I will do look. So yeah,
where's that series 3?
Yeah, Columbo turns up in series 3 in the episode Wendy House. So yeah, Jessica appears before Columbo does.
All right, perhaps they found the dog's owner.
I don't know.
I'm sure the dog's glad to get away from him anyway, because
they invite the dog into the car, and it's sitting on the back seat.
Invite the dog into the car. They get the dog to get in the car because they're going to find its home.
Yeah, but meanwhile the car's got stuck in the mud, doesn't it? And at this point, I do sort of start to sort of empathise with Frank a bit, because remember when we went to one of our works dues?
I do, yeah.
It was up Gillingham Way,
it was January, wasn't it?
Yeah, was it? I can't remember. But yeah, I don't know, where was it to? It was in some sort of...
It was the Copper Pot, wasn't it? I don't know where that is.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, we all had to park on the sort of grass, didn't we? So we went on fairly early, and there were some bouncers. I never get on with bouncers because I never know what to say to them. But the car had got stuck in the mud, hadn't it? Because it had rained like mad or something. So first of all, I tried to get you to push it out.
There was no way I could push it.
And that made me think that's the sort of thing Frank would ask Betty to do, isn't it? But in the end, we got the bouncers to help us out.
Yes, they sort of pushed you out.
I assume they didn't get muddy. I don't know. I sort of went on quick before they showed how muddy they got. But yeah, so yeah, this you say about you have problems and you think Frank's a bit like you, but frankly, Frank's a bit like me as well in that respect. So eventually they sort of try and back the car up a bit in the hope that that'll get some traction.
And or he can go a different way.
Yeah, and all that happens is he ends up with the back wheels over the cliff, doesn't he?
Now, at this point, I'm worrying about the dog.
Yeah.
I don't care about them because,
But yeah, well, that's the point actually, because if the dog's in the back seat, the dog's closer to the cliff than they are. And sort of clock that. And then they turn the radio on, and there's a gale warning as well. But, they've done this for real. That's the thing. I know it says action by Havoc. But if you... and we'll, as I said, when we do the blog post, we'll put the link up. Stuart Fell says that in all the shots, it is actually them doing it. It's not Havoc, because Stuart Fell was ready to be dressed up as Betty. Yeah. Because doesn't he play Joe in?
He does in
the Sea Devils. Yeah,
he got told off for wiggling his bottom too much.
But in the end, it's the actors actually doing all their own stunts, and they built this sort of special rig where they've got the car on hinges so that it sort of goes up and down and stuff. And what is it? Stuart Fell says he's in the. They've taken the back seats out so he can be in the back for when you get the stuff with the stuff coming out the boot.
Because Frank decides he needs to empty the fertiliser out of the boot because it's weighing them down, which is how he ends up hanging off the back of the car. Because he's sort of crawling. He's crawling on the top of the car, and he's got his hand to Betty, hold my feet, and then his shoes come off, and he sort of flips over, and he's hanging onto the bumper first of all, and then onto the exhaust.
Well, it turns out it's not the exhaust pipe in real life. It's a special bar that they've made. I don't think the exhaust pipe would hold your weight for that. Well, no, that's the point. The exhaust pipe would just come away. Yeah.
He's better off hanging onto the bumper.
But they've made a special bar for him to hang on to. But that's the thing. It's still, you look at the wide shots, and it's him.
Yeah. And I would have hoped he had a wire on, but he probably doesn't.
I can't really see anything. That's the thing.
So that it just relies on him hanging on to.
I mean, there's one shot where you can see some stuff ground below him, but in other shots, it's not there.
No.
It's very interesting because what you said about what was it? What was the film we did with Nick on the seaside?
Oh,
where Nick was hanging off the edge of the
Tide of Freedom.
And Nick's over the
he wanted to
railing,
get a shot of I was standing in front of the fence on top of the cliff.
Yeah, and this was quite late at night, and it was blowing a wind.
He wanted a shot from the other side, and I was like, oh, for God's sake, you're going to fall off.
And the only way to do it was to climb over with the sheer drop below him and hang on to the camera.
And hang on to the fence.
Yeah. And had that been picked up on CCTV, I'm sure somebody would have come and told him that was a very bad idea.
It was a very bad idea. It was scaring the hell out of me.
But, I mean, we, in our sort of history of adventures, we can't really sort of top that. But I remember when we were going to visit my dad, and we got up to the crossroads, and there was a police sign up saying road closed.
Yes.
Because there had been some accident or something. I don't know quite.
I think something had turned over, a lorry turned over. Some car or lorry or something. And the police were there. So we had to turn round. But to turn round, I had to go into a sort of lay-by just for the turning circle of the car. And I went a little too far than I normally would go. And I could hear this bump. And the front wheels of the car were in this great big ditch. Yeah, the car was actually like that.
It was actually doing a Frank Spencer.
So I had to get out and I had to sort of slide out into the ditch. Luckily it wasn't wet or anything.
And we went to the sort of the two police that were there, and they said, well, we can't really do a lot on our own. You've got a rescue service. So we rang up the rescue service. Which we
only just got through to because the mobile signal
was dreadful.
Patchy.
But because there'd been this accident, there were like 4 or 5 farm workers there that were helping out. And the police had gone and had a word with them and managed to get them to stay on and haul the car out of the thing. And I've never felt so embarrassed in all my life. It was ridiculous. So, thank you to those people and the police for helping us. I don't think they are watching.
No.
But yeah, it's not really on the scale of Frank Spencer, but the embarrassment I felt was probably more than Frank's.
Yeah. But I don't think Frank Spencer was ever embarrassed in his life at all.
No, that's the thing. He doesn't feel guilty about anything. It's just what happens to him.
He sails through life.
Yeah.
Unafflicted. Everybody else has to pick up on everything that he does. But
now Betty goes off to get the AA, doesn't it? And the AA is saying we're shut until I assume these days the AA have got a 24-hour service.
Yes. Well, I don't even belong to the AA.
Yeah. But
that'd be like that time you had to join the RAC
because my battery was flat. That's right. We were in the car park and my battery had gone flat, and there happened to be an RAC man doing his recycling that night. So
and you grabbed him.
I grabbed him and I said, "Can I join the RAC?" And he said, "Yes, of course you can." Can I have a new battery? Yes, you're a member. Of course you can. and he got us going again. But we were like sort of half an hour late home, weren't we? Whilst he
cats were sat at the door going, "What time to call this?"
But that was really good timing for once. There just happened to be a man there who was putting his empty bottles away or something. I don't know. So Betty is then told to ring up Dorchester, like the nearest sort of main depot. Because I'd say to you, well, that's fairly local because I recognise the cliffs. It's sort of the Purbeck sort of coast area. Couldn't tell you exactly where it is, but when you sort of live around here, you start to recognise caves and cliffs and things like that. Then she rings up the garage and is told to call again on Monday.
Yeah. So then she calls the fire brigade.
Yeah, but they're going to come in like 20
minutes time. That's once they've got all the fire out of the pub and stuff.
But luckily a coach turns up.
Yeah. Do you reckon they will phone the fire brigade and tell them they don't need to come?
I don't know. I'm imagining the fire brigade turned up later and going, there's nobody here.
Yeah.
But this is some sort of rugby club, I assume, sort of turns up and hauls them out. And then somehow they managed to get the car on top of the
bus.
That's ridiculous. You wouldn't get even with a load of rugby players. You wouldn't be able to do that.
Well, it doesn't even need to be towed. There's nothing wrong with it, really, is there?
The car in itself is well, I don't know. I know he's pulled the exhaust pipe off probably.
Yeah.
But there's some notes here about it. And what was it? Michelle Detrice's mother was not amused, saying, "You stupid girl, how dare you do anything so silly." Michael Crawford describes the stunt as one of my sort of all-time favourites. There was a corgi car done of the Morris Minor, so there it is. There,
which is odd.
Some mothers do have a Morris Minor. The Michael Mills came up with the idea of the rugby players, who were members of the Swanage and Wareham Rugby Football Club.
Okay.
So they were local. the original idea was a load of what was it, a slimming group to turn up or something. That they were going to be a busload of really big women or something, and they were told, no, that's silly. You can't get away with
fat women
with anything like that. Eventually I came up with the idea of the coach turning up, which was a dieting group's annual day out, and these really big women get out. The BBC said, don't be ridiculous, you can't do that, it'll upset people. But and there were sort of various ships reporting in that to the Coast Guard that there was a car stuck on the cliff with somebody hanging off the back. So that's the thing, you can't get away with doing this stuff without being spotted by somebody.
No.
I mean, you can warn the police, but especially if you're on the coastline, somebody's going to see you and somebody's going to get worried. So what did you make of that one then?
Yeah, it's interesting. He's unfortunate, Frank, isn't he? I'm not quite sure how he manages to have so many misfortunes.
Well, I mean, that's where the jokes is, isn't it? That if something's going to happen to somebody, it's going to happen to Frank, isn't it? No matter how sort of mad it is. But it's really nice to see that credit though, action by Havoc. Not just on Doctor Who.
No,
because they did a hell of a lot more than Doctor Who.
Yes.
Sometimes sort of people forget just what they were involved in. But it's one of those ones that I think gets repeated, or used to get repeated quite a lot, because I definitely remember seeing not necessarily I don't necessarily remember the stuff with Vernon Dubchef, but I do remember all the hanging off the cliff stuff. And it is one of those things that, as you said, when it comes to clip shows, it's one of those things that they always choose to show. So there you are. So I think that's a more typical one.
Yes,
isn't it?
more representative.
Yeah, but there you go. Okay, some mothers do have them again then.
Mm-hmm.
Bye bye.
Bye.